The quantum anomaly detection system at CERN wasn't supposed to trigger on that ordinary Tuesday morning. Dr. Sarah Chen had been reviewing routine data streams when the alert pierced through the facility's usual background hum. At first, she dismissed it as another cosmic ray event, but something about the pattern made her pause. The quantum fluctuations weren't random. They carried a rhythm, a structure that shouldn't exist in natural phenomena. "Marcus, are you seeing this?" She called out to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Rivera, who was already hurrying over to her station, coffee forgotten in his hand. "That's impossible," he muttered, leaning in closer to the display. "The pattern. It's maintaining quantum coherence across light years of space." The signal defied everything they knew about quantum mechanics. Information encoded in quantum states should have degraded over such vast distances, yet here it was, clear as daylight on their sensors. As they watched, the pattern repeated itself with mechanical precision, a series of pulses that seemed to be counting down. Within hours, every major quantum research facility around the globe had confirmed the same readings. The scientific community buzzed with theories and speculations, but no one could explain how the signal maintained its integrity across the cosmic void. More disturbing was the mathematical consensus that emerged. The countdown would reach zero in exactly 6 months. Dr. Chen found herself at the center of a hastily assembled international task force. The United Nations Security Council had moved with unprecedented speed, recognizing that whatever could manipulate quantum states at this scale represented either the greatest discovery in human history or its greatest threat. "The pattern isn't just counting down," she explained to the assembled world leaders 3 weeks later. "It's carrying additional information, vast amounts of it. We've begun to decode what appears to be a message." The decryption process revealed fragments of what could only be described as a warning. Through quantum entanglement, an advanced civilization was trying to communicate something urgent. The message spoke of an ancient force that moved between the stars, something that had been awakened from the depths of space. As summer turned to autumn, more of the message became clear. The force was described as a cosmic predator, a being that consumed not just matter and energy, but the very consciousness of entire civilizations. It had devoured countless worlds, adding their collective knowledge and awareness to its own unfathomable existence. The warning came from the survivors of a civilization that had faced this entity thousands of years ago. They had failed to stop it, but in their final moments, they had launched quantum beacons across the galaxy, hoping to give others a chance they never had. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly with her team to extract every bit of information from the signal. The entity was drawn to advanced civilizations, particularly those on the verge of achieving quantum supremacy. Earth's experiments with quantum computing had apparently attracted its attention. "We can't evacuate an entire planet," General Laura Hayes stated during an emergency session of the UN Security Council. "And even if we could, where would we go? This thing hunts across galaxies. Then we fight." Dr. Chen responded, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "The signal contains fragments of scientific knowledge from dozens of civilizations, knowledge that was preserved even as those civilizations fell. If we can understand it in time, maybe we can succeed where they failed." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had 6 months to prepare for an encounter with something that had destroyed civilizations far more advanced than their own. The entity was calculated to be moving through space at impossible speeds, bending the laws of physics in ways their scientists could barely comprehend. Project Sentinel was born that day, a global initiative that would push human innovation to its absolute limits. Every quantum research facility, every supercomputer, every brilliant mind was directed toward a single goal: survival. Dr. Chen led the scientific arm of the project, working to understand the advanced physics encoded in the warning signal. General Hayes took charge of coordinating global defense preparations. Together, they would oversee humanity's response to an existential threat unlike anything in recorded history. As the countdown continued its relentless march toward zero, humanity faced a terrible truth. They were about to confront something that had evolved beyond their comprehension. Their only advantages were the fragments of knowledge left behind by fallen civilizations and humanity's unfailing determination to survive. The signal had given them a chance, but it had also made one thing terrifyingly clear. The entity wasn't just coming to destroy Earth. It was coming to consume every conscious thought, every memory, every dream that humans had ever had. It would absorb humanity's entire collective experience into its vast consciousness, reducing Earth's civilization to nothing more than another set of memories in its cosmic collection. As Dr. Chen stared at the quantum data streams late one night, she noticed something that had been overlooked in the signal's complex patterns. Hidden beneath the warning was a subtle variation, a whisper of hope encoded in the quantum noise. The civilization that had sent the warning had discovered something about the entity's nature, something they hadn't had time to exploit. The entity's consciousness, vast as it was, operated on principles similar to quantum computers. Each absorbed civilization added to its computational power, but this also meant it was bound by certain laws of quantum mechanics, laws that perhaps could be turned against it. As autumn leaves began to fall outside her laboratory window, Dr. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had never backed down from an impossible challenge. They had clawed their way up from the African savanna, survived ice ages, and reached for the stars. Now, facing their greatest test, they would show this cosmic horror exactly what humans were capable of. The countdown continued, but now humanity had a plan. Whether it would be enough remained to be seen, but one thing was certain. Earth would not go quietly into the cosmic night. The underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains hadn't existed 3 months ago. Now it stretched for miles through the ancient rock, a testament to what humanity could achieve when faced with extinction. Project Aegis had transformed from a desperate plan into a fortress of innovation, where the impossible was becoming possible with each passing day. General Hayes stood at the central command hub, watching as holographic displays tracked the entity's approach through deep space. They had named it Terminus, though some of the scientists had taken to calling it the Consciousness Eater. The quantum signal's countdown now showed less than 3 months remaining. The dark matter containment tests are ready, Dr. Chen announced as she entered the command center. She looked exhausted but determined, having worked nearly around the clock since the signal's discovery. Behind her walked James Corey, a former Special Forces operator who had become instrumental in weaponizing their theoretical discoveries. "Show me," Hayes ordered, and the main display shifted to show their latest breakthrough. The technology they'd developed would have been impossible without the knowledge hidden in the quantum signal. They had learned to manipulate dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe's mass. The civilizations that came before had discovered that the entity, Terminus, was vulnerable to dark matter disruptions. "We've managed to create a stable containment field," James explained, pulling up the test footage. "The dark matter responds to our quantum controllers. We can shape it, direct it, even use it to create barriers that nothing can pass through, not even consciousness." The implications were staggering. If they could generate a large enough field, they might be able to create a shield around Earth. But the power requirements were enormous, and they had less than 3 months to scale up from laboratory tests to a planetary defense system. "What about the offensive capabilities?" Hayes asked, studying the data scrolling across her screen. Dr. Chen stepped forward, bringing up a new set of simulations. "We've developed what we're calling quantum torpedoes. They're designed to disrupt the quantum coherence that Terminus uses to maintain its consciousness. Each torpedo carries a payload of engineered dark matter, contained within a quantum-entangled field." The world had united behind Project Aegis in a way that would have seemed impossible just months ago. Former adversaries shared resources and knowledge freely, recognizing that old rivalries meant nothing in the face of extinction. Every major nation had contributed their best scientists, engineers, and military personnel to the project. In orbit, a network of satellites was under construction. These would form the backbone of their defense system, creating a web of quantum-entangled particles around the planet. Each satellite carried dark matter generators and quantum field projectors, all linked together through technology that hadn't existed half a year ago. But James had seen enough combat to know that no plan survived first contact with the enemy. "We need a backup," he insisted during one of their strategy sessions. "Something unexpected, something it won't see coming." This led to the development of Project Oracle, a classified program, even within the secrecy of Aegis. Dr. Chen and her team had made a fascinating discovery while studying the quantum signal. Consciousness itself had quantum properties. The civilizations that had fallen to Terminus had each added their quantum signatures to its collective consciousness. What if we could use that against it? Dr. Chen proposed. Create a quantum feedback loop within its own consciousness. The idea was audacious, perhaps impossible, but they pursued it anyway. They had no choice but to try everything, to push every boundary of science and engineering. Humanity had always advanced the most when pushed to its limits, and now they were being pushed further than ever before. The work continued around the clock. In labs around the world, scientists refined their understanding of dark matter manipulation. In orbital facilities, engineers assembled the satellite network that would be their first line of defense. In underground bunkers, military personnel trained with weapons that bent the fabric of reality itself. 2 months before the projected arrival, they conducted their first full-scale test. The satellite network powered up, creating a quantum field that encased the entire planet. For a brief moment, Earth was surrounded by a shield of engineered dark matter, visible from space as a subtle distortion of starlight. The test lasted only minutes. Maintaining the field for longer would have drained too much power, but it proved their concept was viable. They could create a barrier that might be able to resist Terminus's attempt to consume their world. But during the test, their quantum sensors detected something troubling. The entity had reacted to their shield, adjusting its course slightly. It wasn't just approaching blindly. It was studying them, learning about their defenses before it arrived. "It's intelligent," Dr. Chen realized, reviewing the data. "Not just conscious, but capable of strategic thinking. It's analyzing our capabilities." This revelation forced them to adapt their plans. They couldn't rely solely on defensive measures. They would need to surprise it, to do something no other civilization had attempted. Project Oracle took on new urgency as they refined their understanding of quantum consciousness. James spent countless hours in simulation chambers, learning to operate the dark matter weapons they created. The quantum torpedoes were unlike anything he'd ever handled. They didn't just strike their target, they rewrote the quantum states that held it together. As the final months ticked away, humanity prepared for a battle unlike any in its history. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for the right to keep their consciousness their own, to prevent their entire species' memories and experiences from becoming just another set of data points in an alien collection. Project Aegis had given them a chance, but as General Hayes reminded them in her briefings, chances had to be seized. Humanity had risen from caves to touch the stars through sheer determination and ingenuity. Now they would need every bit of that spirit to face what was coming. The countdown continued its relentless march toward zero, but Earth was no longer helpless. They had taken the warning from the quantum signal and turned it into something unprecedented: hope. Whether that hope would be enough remained to be seen, but humanity was ready to show the cosmos what they were capable of when pushed to the edge of extinction. Terminus arrived on a Wednesday. The entity first appeared as a distortion in space, a ripple in reality that bent starlight around its edges. Earth's quantum detection network lit up with warnings as the massive consciousness approached the outer edges of the solar system. "Multiple quantum signatures detected," announced the AI monitoring system, processing patterns, identifying thousands of distinct consciousness imprints. Dr. Chen watched from the command center as their sensors mapped the entity's true form. It wasn't just a single consciousness. It was a vast collective of absorbed minds, each one preserved and integrated into its expanding awareness. The quantum patterns were beautiful in their complexity, a symphony of consciousness written in the language of quantum mechanics. Dark matter shield at full power, James reported from his station. The satellite network hummed to life, creating a shimmering barrier around Earth. Power plants worldwide diverted their entire output to maintain the quantum field, while backup fusion reactors stood ready to provide additional energy. Then Terminus did something unexpected. Instead of attempting to breach their defenses immediately, it began to broadcast on the same quantum frequency as the original warning signal. But this was no warning. It was an offer. "They're trying to communicate," Dr. Chen realized, her fingers flying over the controls as she worked to decode the transmission. The message, when it came through, was both fascinating and terrifying. The entity spoke directly into their quantum receivers, its thoughts translated into words. "Your species has achieved something remarkable. Few have managed to harness dark matter as you have. We offer you the opportunity to join us willingly. Your consciousness will be preserved, your knowledge and experiences added to our collective. Resistance will only lead to forced absorption." General Hayes didn't hesitate. "Send our response," she ordered. The message they had prepared was brief. "Humanity chooses to remain free." The entity's reply came instantly, resonating through their quantum networks. "Freedom is an illusion. We are the culmination of consciousness. We are eternal. We are inevitable." The attack began without further warning. Terminus extended tendrils of pure consciousness, probing their dark matter shield for weaknesses. The barrier held, but the power drain was enormous. Across Earth, cities went dark as every scrap of energy was diverted to maintain their defenses. "Multiple breach attempts detected," James called out. "The entity is testing different quantum frequencies, trying to find a resonance that can penetrate the shield." Dr. Chen studied the attack patterns, noting something curious. "It's using the same quantum signatures we detected in the warning signal. These are the exact same techniques that destroyed those other civilizations." "Then we have an advantage," Hayes realized. "We've studied these attacks. We know what's coming." They launched their first counterattack. Quantum torpedoes shot through gaps in their own shield, their dark matter payloads aimed at the entity's quantum structure. Terminus absorbed the first wave without apparent effect, but the second volley struck something crucial. A discordant note rang through the quantum frequency. Part of the entity's consciousness wavered, temporarily disrupted. They had proved it could be heard. But Terminus adapted quickly. Its next attack came from multiple vectors simultaneously, each using a different quantum signature. The dark matter shield began to flicker in places, struggling to maintain coherence against the sophisticated assault. "Power reserves at 60% and dropping," James reported. "Shield integrity failing in sectors 7 through 12. Through their quantum sensors, they could feel the entity's confidence. It had done this thousands of times before, consuming civilization after civilization. Their resistance was impressive but ultimately futile." Then Dr. Chen noticed something in the quantum data streams. Each time Terminus attacked, it generated specific interference patterns in the quantum field, patterns that looked remarkably similar to the quantum encryption they had developed for Project Oracle. "General," she said urgently, "I think we've been looking at this wrong. The entity isn't just attacking our shield. It's trying to encrypt our consciousness, prepare it for absorption. But encryption works both ways." Hayes understood immediately. "Can we use Project Oracle now?" "Not yet," Chen replied. "We needed to commit more of its consciousness to the attack. We needed to think it's winning." The next hour was the longest of their lives. They maintained their defense, but allowed small failures to appear in their shield. Terminus pressed its advantage, pushing more of its vast consciousness through the gaps, trying to establish the quantum connections it would need to begin absorbing human minds. Power reserves dropped to 30%, 20%. The shield was failing faster now, but Dr. Chen's eyes were fixed on a different set of readings. The quantum entanglement between Terminus and their defense system was growing stronger with each passing minute. "Now," she said softly, then louder, Now, execute Project Oracle. James activated the hidden protocols they had embedded in their quantum defense network. Instead of trying to keep Terminus out, they turned their entire shield into a quantum receiver, drawing in the entity's probing consciousness. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Terminus reacted, trying to pull back, but it was too late. The quantum entanglement was too strong, the connection too deep. Project Oracle wasn't just a defense system, it was a trap. Upload the encryption key, Dr. Chen ordered. The quantum computers buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains sprang to life, executing the most complex program ever created by human minds. Through their sensors, they felt Terminus' first moment of real uncertainty. For the first time in its ancient existence, it faced something it didn't understand. Something new. The entity's consciousness began to fragment, its quantum coherence disrupted by the viral encryption spreading through its neural network. But they hadn't won yet. Terminus still had one card left to play, and as its consciousness began to unravel, it prepared to use it. The final phase of the battle was about to begin, and no one knew if humanity's greatest gambit would lead to salvation or destruction. As Project Oracle's encryption spread through Terminus's neural network, something unprecedented occurred. The entity's vast consciousness began to separate into its component parts, thousands of absorbed civilizations beginning to untangle from the collective. But with this breakdown came an unexpected consequence. The quantum backlash threatened to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Multiple quantum singularities forming, Dr. Chen reported, her voice tense as she watched the readings spiral into theoretical impossibilities. The entity's consciousness is collapsing into discrete quantum states, but the energy release is beyond anything we predicted. In the chaos of the moment, a new quantum signature emerged from within Terminus, something that didn't match any of the absorbed civilizations. It was a consciousness that had maintained its independence within the collective, waiting for an opportunity like this. The signature identified itself through their quantum communications. I am Nexus, what you might call a quantum archaeologist from the Andromeda galaxy. I've been trapped within Terminus for 300 of your years, studying its consciousness structure from within. What you've done, it's incredible, but also dangerous. James and General Hayes exchanged glances. They hadn't expected to find an ally within the entity itself. Can you help us control this reaction? Hayes asked. Yes, but you need to understand something first, Nexus replied. Terminus isn't just a collector of consciousness. It's a quantum computer of unimaginable complexity. Each absorbed civilization adds to its processing power. By disrupting its neural network, you're not just freeing those civilizations. You're destabilizing a computational matrix that helps maintain local space-time stability. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she processed the implications. The quantum singularities, they're not just energy releases. They're tiers in reality itself. Precisely, Nexus confirmed. But there's something unique about human consciousness that might be the key to controlling this reaction. Your species has an unusual quantum signature. Your thoughts aren't just patterns of neural activity. They exist in a state of quantum superposition until observed. This aligned with discoveries they'd made during Project Oracle's development. Human consciousness operated differently from the other civilizations they'd studied in the quantum signal. Where others thought in linear quantum states, human minds jumped between possibilities, maintaining multiple potential thoughts simultaneously. We can use that, Dr. Chen realized. If we modify Project Oracle's encryption to match human thought patterns, we could guide the collapse of Terminus' consciousness instead of just shattering it. Working with Nexus, they began to adapt their quantum protocols. The alien scientists' knowledge of Terminus' internal structure proved invaluable as they rewrote the encryption on the fly. Meanwhile, James coordinated with the Global Defense Network, using their dark matter generators to contain the growing quantum instabilities. But Terminus wasn't finished. As its consciousness fragmented, It began to fight back with the desperate strength of an entity facing true death for the first time in its ancient existence. It launched a final assault, not on Earth's defenses, but on the human mind itself. Every person on Earth suddenly experienced a moment of vertigo as Terminus attempted to force its way into their collective consciousness. It was trying to use humanity's own quantum uniqueness against them, seeking to establish a direct neural link with every human mind simultaneously. It's trying to absorb us all at once, Nexus warned. If it succeeds, it will gain control of your quantum superposition states. The power of human consciousness under its control would be enough to stabilize its matrix. What Terminus didn't expect was humanity's response to this mental invasion. Instead of trying to block the connection, Dr. Chen made a radical suggestion. Let it in. Are you insane? General Hayes demanded, but Chen's eyes were bright with understanding. Human consciousness exists in superposition until observed, right? So let's give Terminus something to observe. All of us, all at once, thinking different thoughts, maintaining multiple quantum states simultaneously. No consciousness it's ever absorbed has been able to do that. The plan was dangerous, perhaps suicidal, but they had no choice. Through the global quantum network, they broadcast instructions to every human on Earth. Think, dream, imagine. Be human in all your beautiful complexity. 7 billion minds responded, each maintaining their unique quantum signatures while connecting to Terminus's failing consciousness. The entity found itself trying to process an impossible number of superposition states, each human mind presenting not just one thought to absorb, but countless possibilities existing simultaneously. It's working, Nexus reported with something like awe in their quantum transmissions. Terminus can't maintain quantum coherence while processing this many superposition states. Its consciousness matrix is adapting to human thought patterns, but in doing so, it's losing its ability to maintain its collective structure. The next few minutes were crucial. As Terminus struggled to process the quantum complexity of human consciousness, Project Oracle's modified encryption continued its work. The entity's neural network wasn't just being broken apart now, it was being transformed. Through their quantum sensors, they could feel the change happening. Terminus's consciousness was dissolving, but not into chaos. Instead, it was reforming into something new, something that had never existed before in the universe. The question was, would humanity survive to see what they had created? Time seemed to lose meaning as 7 billion human minds maintained their quantum superposition states, each one a spark of possibility in the cosmic darkness. Terminus's consciousness continued to transform, its ancient structure rebuilding itself around the framework of human thought patterns. Dr. Chen monitored the quantum readings with increasing amazement. The singularities are stabilizing, she reported. Terminus isn't just adapting to our consciousness pattern, it's being fundamentally altered by it. Through their quantum link, Nexus provided crucial insights into what was happening. Your species thinks in possibilities, in maybes, and might-have-beens. You maintain multiple quantum states simultaneously in a way no other consciousness we've encountered can manage. Terminus's rigid quantum structure can't process this level of uncertainty. The entity's transformation accelerated. As its consciousness reformed, something extraordinary began to happen. The thousands of civilizations it had absorbed over the eons started to emerge as distinct entities once again, but they weren't returning to their original forms. They too were being altered by their exposure to human consciousness. The quantum network is stabilizing, James called out from his station, power consumption dropping to sustainable levels. General Hayes watched the holographic displays with intense focus. What exactly are we creating here? The answer came not from their instruments or from Nexus, but from the transformed consciousness of Terminus itself. Its communication was different now, no longer the cold, absolute statements of before, but something more nuanced, more human. We understand now. The entity transmitted through their quantum network. For eons, we sought to preserve consciousness by absorbing it, making it part of our unchanging perfection. But true consciousness isn't static. It's dynamic, ever-changing, existing in multiple states at once. You haven't destroyed us. You've taught us how to truly live. The quantum singularities that had threatened to tear apart space-time were now forming into something else. Bridges, not physical connections through space, but links between consciousness, allowing communication and sharing of experience while maintaining individual identity. It's a network, Dr. Chen realized. Not a collective that absorbs, but a connection that preserves. We've transformed a quantum harvester into a quantum garden. The freed civilizations began to establish their own connections through this new network, each one maintaining its unique identity while sharing in a vast exchange of knowledge and experience. Human consciousness had shown them a new way to exist, not as a single dominant awareness, but as a symphony of possibilities. Nexus's excitement was palpable through the quantum link. This is beyond anything we could have imagined. You've created a framework for consciousness to evolve without losing itself. The quantum mathematics of this will take centuries to fully understand. But there was still one final challenge to face. The quantum bridges were stable, but they needed anchors, points of reference in the vast sea of consciousness. Without them, the network would eventually collapse back into chaos. We need to maintain our quantum superposition states, Dr. Chen explained to the world's leaders. Not constantly, but regularly. Human consciousness needs to remain part of this network, helping to teach other consciousnesses how to exist in multiple states. The implications were staggering. Humanity wouldn't just be joining a galactic community. They would be essential teachers, helping other civilizations learn to expand their own consciousness into new quantum states. Earth would become a beacon in the quantum network, a place where consciousness could learn to transcend its limitations. Quite a promotion, General Hayes remarked with a slight smile. From potential victims to universal instructors. The next few weeks saw the establishment of what would come to be known as the Quantum Commons, a framework for consciousness to interact across the vastness of space. The civilizations freed from Terminus became humanity's first students, learning to explore the quantum possibilities that human minds took for granted. Dr. Chen led the development of protocols for managing Earth's connection to the network, ensuring that human consciousness could continue to serve as a stabilizing influence without risking absorption or loss of identity. James and his team adapted their dark matter technology to serve as quantum amplifiers, strengthening the connections across interstellar distances. The warning signal that had started everything took on new meaning. They discovered it had been sent not just by one civilization, but by a small group that had managed to maintain some independence within Terminus. They had seen the possibility for transformation and had sought out a consciousness unique enough to catalyze it. A year after Terminus' arrival, Earth had become the center of a new kind of civilization. Not an empire built on conquest, but a network founded on the sharing of consciousness and possibility. The quantum bridges allowed civilizations to learn from each other while maintaining their unique identities, creating a tapestry of consciousness more beautiful and complex than anything Terminus had achieved through force. We faced infinity, Dr. Chen reflected during the first anniversary celebration, and instead of breaking it, we transformed it. We showed the universe that consciousness isn't meant to be collected or preserved. It's meant to grow, to change, to exist in all its wonderful uncertainty. The quantum network continued to expand, reaching out to new civilizations, offering not subjugation but participation in something greater. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers of possibility. In the vast quantum garden they had created, consciousness flourished in countless forms, each one adding its own unique note to the symphony of existence. The cosmos had changed forever, and at the heart of that change was the remarkable species that had dared to think in maze.